Closers, in this video, I'm going to be breaking down a full live sales call recording in which I close a $7,800 deal paid in full and overcome multiple objections at the end of the conversation. I've gone from having no prior sales experience to making over $30,000 a month as a high ticket closer in the last year and a half. And the techniques that you're going to see in this video have been cultivated from working with numerous coaches in the space over time. However, what I want you to focus on is the fact that I have shifted my selling style to state-based selling. I do not work from a rehearsed script. And this is exactly what I teach all of the members of my community who are now closing at $20,000 to $30,000 a month at the highest level possible. If that sounds of interest to you and you want to join a community of like-minded individuals who are on the same journey as yourself, head to the description. You can book a direct call in with myself. We'll jump on for 15 to 20 minutes at first to get to know each other better and dive into your goals in more specifics. If you would just like to reach out and have a conversation, I've also attached my Instagram. Now, let's jump straight into the call review. For some context on the call, I'm selling on a trading coaching offer. It was a US-based offer predominantly, and I would have an appointment setter qualifying my leads before they jumped on the call with myself. Let's dive into it. Just so we're sort of aligned up front with the call, we won't be getting into anything like too overly technical or in the weeds here together. Like all like the strategies, the breakdowns, and that are of course inside the training itself. What I do want us to focus on today though is you above all. This is very purposeful, and it's the way in which I framed a lot of my calls when I sold on this offer, because what I ran into was individuals jumping on and then asking me very analytical questions, getting bogged down in the trading process itself, the coaching, the methodology. However, I wanted to pre-handle that at the top of the call within my frame. Hence why I state we're not going to be getting into anything too overly technical or in the weeds. It already insinuates to them to not ask a question based around that, because that's not what we're here to do. We're here to have a conversation about yourself, to really dive into what matters for you. All else really. So where you're at with trading right now, Eddie, what are you working towards? And of course, where you feel the gaps are. And based on what we chat, of course, I may recommend you something more in depth. So I suppose we'll just have a chat and get a bit of clarity and then see how we can help you out if you're up for that.
Okay.
Very off the cuff frame. We may recommend something more in depth. I wanted to take all sales pressure out of this environment for him, because I felt as though this is an individual that is certainly not going to be too familiar with the sales process in and of itself. So we want to make it more conversational than anything else. Awesome. So just walk me through where you're at with your trading right now, because Darius, I know, spoke to you prior and he gave me some notes to work off, but I never like to make assumptions myself. So are you just starting out, or have you got a lot of experience under your belt? In this specific case, as I mentioned at the start, I would have an appointment setter giving me notes for the call, who's had a brief prior conversation with this lead. I always like to use the frame of I never like to make assumptions, because what it then does, unlike me leaning onto the notes that I have and making statements toward him of things he said prior, I'm bringing them back up into the conversation, but he's saying it himself. So it makes it more real. It makes it more actual. We can get pain back out of it, and we can get urgency back from it into the conversation. So I say, I don't like to make assumptions. So effectively, just rejig everything you've already spoken about, but here with me now.
Well, I'm right now just sort of in limbo right now. You know, I've always, more or less, even when I had my business, I would, do a little bit of trading options. I tried that. Well, that don't go too well, So anyway,
when you
that
say
was 4 years ago.
when you say that don't go too well, like how do you mean? Boom. We've got our first branch. This is something I teach a lot of my students. Think of the sales conversation that you're having as the trunk of a tree. Now, whenever a prospect gives you a buzzword, or a point of pain. What I mean by this is a word that evokes an emotion, such as tired, struggling, awkward, etc., or a point of identity or contention. We now have a branch that we can build off. And the way in which we build from it is by asking a clarifying question, such as, what do you mean by that? How do you mean? As I have done here. You should, and it is totally fine for you to interject into a conversation so that the prospect doesn't go on this long-winded monologue and then you have to loop back to what they said at the very beginning. You said earlier XYZ. That's very unnatural. What you want to do is exactly as I have done here. Interject and say, well, when you say XYZ, how do you mean? Now we're going to get some clarity on a potential pain point.
Well, see, that was several years now. I mean, that was like 20 years ago. So as business grew, I sort of dwindled away from stocks. But then I would go back and I would look, and I would always get my account, open. But anyway, about a year ago, I more or less started thinking. I said, well, I'm going to retire in August, which I did this past August. And so, I got to thinking, I said, well, I have more time. I can do, get up in the morning, do what I want to do, learn, how to trade. Well, I played with a little bit, and you always go on YouTube and you're looking at watching videos.
Yeah.
And you think, oh, wow, I can do that. But you can't. I mean, I don't care how many videos you look at or what. I mean, you can learn the basic.
Yeah, it's like trying to learn how to build a house by watching YouTube.
Oh yeah, exactly. And that's sort of where I am. I mean, one day, you hit good on it, and then you go 2 or 3, 4 days not too good. Whatever you make on one day, you just give it back the next 7 days.
So would you say then it's only more recently been the last year then where you've gotten properly back into trading?
Yes.
And then did you trade at all before then? Or was the last time you traded 20 years ago when you were doing the options?
Well, no. I would say maybe 2, 3, 4 years ago,
Okay.
dwindled around with it a little bit, as I had more time, but, it was just maybe 1 or 2 days a week.
Okay.
I would look at it.
Were you paper trading or were you trading with your own money?
Well, I did with my own money 2, 3, 4 years ago. Then when I started back this time, I started paper trading, and I have been paper trading really, really a lot. I mean, I did for about 2 or 3 months, and just trying to learn the basics again and find a good strategy that I could use.
When you used your real money about 2, 3, 4 years ago, like how much did you end up kind of putting into your trading account at the time?
I just put a couple $1,000s at the time,
And what came about of it back then?
Nothing, just it don't take long, and you get back down. You get frustrated.
Did you lose it?
I'm sorry.
Did you lose it, or did you end up just withdrawing it? You lost it.
Yeah.
How much do you think that would have been? Like a few $1,000s, or like a fair amount there?
1,000 at the time. Yeah.
Like 2,000.
Yeah.
See how I'm being very granular here? So what I'm doing is front loading the analytics. What we're doing is effectively figuring out what his history with trading has been, whether that has worked, because that gives us a broader timeline on how long he's effectively wanted to be a successful trader for, and also what he has potentially tried in the past, right, to resolve that and improve, and whether it's been successful or not. So I'm trying to get very granular here so that I can build leverage in the conversation effectively and gain a clear understanding as to the issues that he's been facing. So we've now figured out that he traded 20 years ago, he traded again 3 to 5 years ago, and now he's gotten back into it more recently. So it is something he's effectively wanted to do quite clearly for a very long time. However, the strategy and the techniques he's been using up to now have predominantly just been from YouTube, and that has not worked. So therefore, something clearly has to change.
But
And then,
now
yeah.
I've looked since maybe December, whatever. I more or less paper traded, and I did fairly well. I started out on the paper trade account. I started out $5,000 on it because I figured, I said, well, if I get back in and do anything, I said, we got to have more money. I mean, the $2,000 you can, play along with it a little bit, but you're not going to really make any money. It's going to take a long time.
Yeah.
So anyway, I started with I did. I went and started paper trading, and I had to put $5,000 in the account because that's what I'm going to put in there.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I did pretty well on that. I mean, I took a $5,000 account, and right now it's up to about $27,000.
Okay.
So,
nice.
Yeah.
Does it frustrate?
It's not your money.
Yeah. Does it frustrate you? Does it frustrate you in a sense that you are still paper trading?
Yes. And every once in a while, I'll jump back.
So now, because he said the paper trading is going really well, it's been doing well up to now, I'm here to create a disconnect between the fact that although the paper trading may be going very well, that's not actually money in his pocket. For anybody unaware of trading as a whole, paper trading effectively means he's not using real money. He's trading with fake money, and he's doing well there. So it would perhaps be even more frustrating, because if he had been using his real money in this situation, he would have made himself a lot of money. However, he hasn't. And predominantly the reason as to why traders do that is because there's much more of a psychological connection toward when you use real money in comparison to paper.
And I'll play, some with my, because I'll look and I'll say, I got this figured out. And then, you go back and it's altogether a different game,
So have you dabbled with your own money then over the last year as well?
Oh yeah.
How much of your own money would you say you've used?
A couple thousand. I mean, that's all I put in at the time.
And then what's happened with that account? Because we've gotten the paper trade from 5 to 27, did you say?
Yeah.
But what have we done with the real money?
Well, I've started, you start with 2,000, then, now it's down to about 1,000.
Okay.
So,
what do you think is the big reason that you are being successful on your paper trade account, but you're not being successful when it comes to your real wealth? Notice how I am carefully using all of the information he is giving me to ask my questions. It demonstrates that I am really empathetically listening to what he's saying. I'm being granular with this. And the purpose behind my question now is to continue to create the disconnect between the fact that even though the paper trading may be going well, the real trading, the one that actually matters, he's down a fair amount of money on. So what's the cause of that?
Well, I think what I looked at is when I was doing trading options is that where I paper trade and I would get in there. Well, instead of staying out of the money $2 or $3, I jumped in, to like if SPY was, like right now 685. Well, that's what I was playing, 685 calls and puts. And so, everything moves a lot faster, when you're right there in the money. So anyway, I was just sort of scalping it, and I would, go in and I would hit, as soon as it jumped up 5, 6, 7, and I was playing like with some of it. I started out with 20 contracts, and I went to 30 contracts, and it got up to 50 contracts. Well, you jump 5, 10 cents. Well, I jumped back out, and that's what I've been doing with paper trading.
Yeah.
So it grew, and then you hit a good day, to where you make $4,000 or $5,000 on it, and it grew fast. So
however, we're essentially not seeing that reflect though when it comes to the real account. Would you say?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, because once you get back to your real account,
that's also very purposeful. Adding "would you say" onto the end of a statement, because then it has them affirm the statement themselves. We want to reword every single statement we can into a question because the prospect's words are always going to be more powerful than your own. You're not here to coach, you're not here to lecture, you're here to ask open ended questions to allow them to change their way of thinking and come to their own conclusion. So, whenever I make a statement, I would always end it with, would you say? Would you agree?
Then you're playing with, maybe 5 contracts or 10 contracts, and it goes
Yep.
up 10 cents. Well, you make $50, $100 like that. Well, it's just slow going.
Yeah.
Unless you have a good run.
And would you say it's quite discretionary the way you've been trading, or do you actually have a system in place at the moment?
Have a what?
Like have a system behind your trades and how you're operating?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I play, opening range breakout,
Mhm.
and and I watched, a lot of videos, and I watched Casper, do a lot,
Yep.
of that, and and I tried to follow the technique, but there's just certain little points in there. I mean, you hit your false breakouts mainly. I mean,
Mhm.
every time you think it's gonna run, then it goes the other way.
Yeah.
So that's about where I am right now.
Mm. If we
I just gotta get consistent.
if we which I'd say is the biggest factor for most traders. Like it's all well and good having a great system in place, but if you don't have the accountability so that you can then maintain consistency, well, we're never going to get to the goals that we're really aiming for, I suppose. If we do take a step back for you, what would you say the specific outcome is that you are looking to achieve from trading at an advanced level? So now I've front loaded the analytics. We have all the context we need to understand what his prior experience and understanding of trading has been, what his process has been, and whether it's been successful. We have all the analytics we need. Now it's time to get into what actually matters. Him, his desire beneath the surface. Because it's all well and good that he wants to get better at trading, but what's the reasoning behind that? And then what's the reasoning behind that? So I lean out and I say, taking a step back for you, what's the specific outcome that you're looking to achieve from pursuing XYZ?
What are my goals?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, at my age now, I mean, I've got money coming in. I've sold some business, and this, that, and the other. So I mean, I've got income coming in. But you hit that point where you think about, if something happens,
What do you mean?
where's the money going to come from?
Right. What do you mean? Clarifying question, because there's a branch there.
I mean, like
when you say if something happens, like, what do you mean? See how I didn't have full clarity? I ask again. Because I said, what do you mean? He said, if something happens, we don't actually fully understand or comprehend what he means by that. If you don't have a vividly clear picture of what the prospect is insinuating, never make assumptions. That is rule number 1. Always play the naive card if you have to and ask again so that they reaffirm exactly what they mean vocally, because then it actualizes it, makes it real, and will make it have more impact.
Well, I want to be I still got things I want to do, places I want to go. And I mean, I'll be truthful with you. I just turned 73, and I mean, I still want to go. I mean, I got things I want to do.
Yeah.
And so I'm just trying to hit that supplemental money, I guess, more or less what you want to call it, to just sort of make it easy. Just give you that good cushion.
What's the top of the bucket list then at the moment, would you say?
What is top of my bucket list? Well, let's see. Well, I always had a boat. I still got my boat, and it's just a small boat on the lake. And but I want a bigger boat where if I want to, I live in South Carolina, so I can hit. I'm not far from the coast. I'm 200 miles from the coast, and I go once every couple of months. So anyway, I would like a bigger boat now. And just take off and go down to the Keys. Go, just island hop for a while, more or less. And a lot of times, it sounds like you're dreaming, but
well, how do you turn a dream into a reality? Boom. He has just vocalized a limiting belief. So I have jumped on said limiting belief immediately, because if we don't unpack any form of a limitation the moment it comes up, It will likely surface at the end of your call in objections. He has just said that his goals are more of a dream, effectively. What that insinuates is that they are unlikely to happen or unachievable. That's what a dream is. A dream is something that isn't real. So I've immediately asked him that question. Well, how do we turn a dream into a reality?
Yeah. So that's
Well,
where I'm at. Yeah, I got a
how,
lot of
how,
things I can do.
how do you turn a dream into a reality? Your prospects will do this a lot. I asked him a direct question. Instead of answering the question, he just acknowledged me and said, yeah. So I have re asked the exact same question. Do not allow your prospect to get around not actually answering the question that you've asked.
Well, I mean, a lot of it's got to do with time and money. I got plenty of time. I got a lot of time on my hands.
And
But
which would you say deep down you value more, time or money?
well, right now, time. I value more right now with my time because I can continue, without the money,
Yeah.
extra money. I can still continue, and so time really. And I spend, a lot of times with my kids and my grandkids.
Yeah.
That they see right now, that's where I'm at, and to make
Do you,
sure.
do you
And
get to spend do you get to spend as much time as you would like with the kids and the grandkids? With this prospect, this is one that a lot of closers seem to struggle with. He's in retirement. Finances aren't necessarily a huge concern for him. So, what a lot of closers would fall into the trap of is saying this guy doesn't have much pain. He's not going to have much purpose behind doing this. Notice how, as always, I'm using the exact words he said, and we're narrowing in on the significance behind doing this. So now we're focusing in on time being the primary driver, but more than that, it's time with the people he loves. It's time with the grandchildren. That's the importance.
I do. I got
Mm.
one live with me and my son, but I still got three. My daughter, she's got three, and
Mm.
I spend a lot of time. I go up there. They're very active in sports, and they're in middle school and high school now. So, I spend a lot of time going back and forth and watching them,
Yeah.
and trying to spend as much time with all of them that I can.
Yeah. So that life that you want to live then, Eddie, is that not really possible with the current income you've got just from the retirement?
I could do it. Yeah. I could, but I don't know. I really okay.
Notice how that's got him. Always a great question to ask in this circumstance when an individual is in an okay position and they start to say a lot of positive things about their current circumstance. Well, in that case, then, are we not able to actually get to XYZ goal by just sticking with what we're doing currently? Because now they're going to have to explain to you and to themselves the reason as to why they effectively are on the call and looking/need to do this.
I guess more or less 20 years ago, maybe I was to the point where I, you know, I don't say it to brag, but anyway,
Mm.
I, I, I had assets of, way over $1 million, and I had a lot of money coming in, and you live a good lifestyle, and you
Yeah.
just never think it's going to quit,
Yeah.
And so anyway, I lost my wife in 2011,
Mm.
and she had a 21-year bout with breast cancer. So
Wow.
that sort of held us back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, just her going through the treatments and this and that, well, it sort of drains you a little
Yeah.
bit. So anyway, after she passed away, I just more or less downsized
Yeah.
everything. I sold my house, and I had a beach house and things, and I kept my boat though. I always let my boat come
Do
back.
you
I always just shoot to
do
the
you
lake.
Do you miss that version of yourself?
Boom. What a question. Straight to the identity layer, because the story that this man has just told us is so impactful. He said he used to have assets in above the sum of $1 million. He used to live a much more lavish lifestyle. Unfortunately, his wife fell ill. She had cancer and she's now passed away. And a lot of his finances clearly had to be oriented toward her medical bills and caring for her. And he had to downsize. Rather than us focusing on the money or what he's now missed out on in his life from not having as much wealth, it's, do you miss that version of yourself? Because that's tying him to the person he used to be, the feelings he used to have, the identity he used to hold.
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I do. And but I never remarried, so it's just me and my kids.
Yeah.
And where I'm at now, this was my mother's house, and house I grew up in. So I'm redoing it, remodeling, doing a lot of remodeling, fixing up, and
Are you able to leave, I suppose, like a financial legacy behind still to the children and the grandchildren?
Not what I would like.
Well, let's get some goals set. Let's plant some goalposts in the sand, because we've got a good vision there for the first goalpost, which would be the supplemental income, so that we could upsize the boat and do fun things like that, right? Bucket list things, right?
Yeah.
What would that figure be in mind in terms of monthly profit from trading alone now, where we would be able to acquire those things? Have you got a figure in mind?
What I'm now doing is broadening his scope of horizon, because he initially said to me that he wants to make more money to have a better boat. That's a very surface level desire. As you can see there, I've now asked him whether he feels as though he's going to be able to leave a financial legacy to his family. Effectively, is he going to be able to embody the identity of a provider, of being the granddad who leaves the money to his children and his grandchildren? And he said not as much as he'd like to be. That's the identity basis, the identity layer. So now we're setting clear goalposts to actually build out his conceptualization of this becoming a reality, that he is now going to actually be able to step back into that identity and become the granddad he's always wanted to be.
Well, yeah, I mean, I always dream big, but then I think, well, if I could learn to make, $200 a day, I figure, when you trade options, if you get good at $200 a day, it should be well within your range.
Yeah.
Now, that's starting out.
Yeah, because that'd be around like $5,000 a month, give or take, right?
Yeah,
4 to 5,000.
Yeah, exactly. And and then once you learn, if I can learn that, then you start, expanding a little bit more.
Do you believe you're capable of learning that?
Am I capable?
Yeah, just because you keep saying, if I can.
Boom. Once again, I have immediately picked up on the fact that he's using uncertain language with himself. If you ever hear a prospect use the words if, maybe, could, would, that's uncertain language. It's leaving the outcome up to speculation, effectively. We have to challenge them on that, because if you wait to challenge them on uncertainty until the end of your call, it will come up as an objection that you're not going to be able to overcome, because you haven't planted the carabiner in the rock earlier on in the call. I've called it out immediately so that we can address it and move forward together in a better position.
Well, yeah, I mean, I say if I can, I probably don't catch my.
See how he's smiling and laughing, because people will actually acknowledge the fact that you're there to help them if you're coming from this empathetic, caring perspective and you're really listening to them, because you're not so fixated and attached to your script. This is the power of state-based selling.
Myself saying it like that, but
because I suppose what would be like a better way of saying it?
A bad way?
No, what would be a better way?
Oh, a better way? Oh, I can. I mean, if
See how I phrase that as a question? I'm not telling him what the better way to say it is. I'm asking him so he can provide the answer in his own words and own it.
If I got the right, setup and strategy and stuff. And one thing I have learned is I don't jump around from strategy to strategy, because I mean, you only need one good strategy.
Yeah, you don't want to try and Frankenstein monster together a bunch of different things. That'll never work. You won't be able to be consistent whatsoever then. That's probably one of the biggest problems I see clients mention before they come to us, that they have just hopped strategy to strategy to strategy and they've never actually stuck with something or had someone hold them down basically to stick with something for a long enough time. So we've got $4,000 to $5,000 then a month. Would that allow you to upsize the boat and do those fun things that you've been missing out on currently?
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
But
so that's the first goalpost.
You always want more.
Yeah. Well, realistically, the next goalpost would be what matters way more than that, right? It would be being able to leave that financial legacy to the amount that you actually want to be able to. Because you said there that not quite to the figure where you'd be satisfied with and say, you know what, that's done Eddie good. That's where we want it to be.
Yeah.
How much would we need to be hitting per month for you to be able to attain that and get that back?
Notice how I've now managed to pivot the conversation away from getting him a better boat to now leaving the financial legacy for his family and his children. Way more important now. Way more reason and significance to have a level of urgency toward doing this.
Per month?
Mm-hmm. If we keep it simple.
I think right now, I think my goal right now is going to be $10,000 a month.
Okay.
And then once I hit that goal, then we reset the goal.
Yeah. Any reason behind that in particular?
You always want to ask that question when somebody gives you an arbitrary number, because anybody can pick $10,000 a month out of a hat. What is the actual significance behind making that amount?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Any reason behind 10 in particular?
No, I think that would just sort of hit that comfort level of where, okay, I can do this, I can make this much, if I need it, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's not just make it when you need it. You want to build it, like I said, build that cushion, where you can sit back, you can do things for your kids, you can just do whatever you want to do. Enjoy,
you can be the grandfather you want to be, essentially, right? At that point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Boom. Notice the particular use of the vocabulary that I choose to say. You can be the grandfather you want to be. I'm tying this into his identity. I'm tying this into the individual that deep down he really wants to embody and be.
Are you okay, Eddie, if we just kind of speak like we're family here, by the way?
Okay.
This is a preemptive phrase I also use if I'm going to challenge somebody, reframe somebody, provide a new perspective on their ideology. Do you mind if we just speak as if we're family, by the way? Off the cuff, and it effectively opens the door, because it insinuates if we're speaking like we're family, then there's subconsciously already a layer of trust there, because you trust people that you're family with.
I always like to check because I'm British. I think at times I can come across a bit blunt, is what I've been told. But
I noticed you accent up a little bit. So I said, well.
Because after what you've told me, Eddie, being that you've yet to reach your goals in regard to trading and the financial figures that we want to hit, what's held you back up to now from investing into a high-level program or working with a one-on-one coach so that you could actually get ahead of this and fix it earlier?
So I've preemptive a very direct, challenging question, effectively, so that it lands smoother. However, this question is vital because this is now going to uncover the potential limitation that would hold him back from moving forward with us and getting the help he needs.
What's held me back? Well, like I say, up until August, I was working in my own business, and I only did enough to keep me going because that's all I needed. And then I got to thinking, I said, well, if I'm going to stop at this, I said, I need something. So, then I got to messing around with it, and I saw that I could make some money. But everybody that I've seen or watched that's successful, they have somebody, some mentor or somebody to help them along the way.
Yeah.
I like you said, you go back to building the house. I don't care, what you still got to have somebody to show you how to do it.
Yeah.
Or you got to learn it somewhere. And that to me, that's, basically where I'm at right now. If I'm wanting to really, really do it, then, you got to put in the time and the effort.
Yeah. And are you wanting to really, really do it?
Notice how I immediately picked up on that as well, because he said, if I'm wanting to really, really do it, well, are you wanting to really, really do it? We want to always just casually challenge that use of uncertain language throughout.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because you said, do you know what word you used again?
If yeah, that's the biggest word.
Notice how, because I have brought attention to this now, we're laughing about it. It's built a layer of trust and rapport with him. However, subconsciously now, well, actually, consciously, we've made the subconscious conscious. He's now going to be consciously checking his own vocabulary and the words that he's using with himself, which is going to be planting certainty into his own mind. And we're only 25 minutes into the call. So, given the fact we've planted this certainty so early, this is now going to carry through the rest of the conversation. So we're not going to get these uncertain objections at the end, or we're at least setting ourselves up with a lot more leverage if we do so.
The dictionary.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
essentially the coaching's already started now, is what I like to say to people. And I suppose, let's just use this example. It's like the greatest athletes in the world, you know, Muhammad Ali, right? Mike Tyson, boxers, they all had a coach. And people would have said at the time they were the best. And
Yeah.
that demonstrates that the highest performers in the world still understand the benefit
Oh,
of
yeah.
having someone in their corner. But not only that, when a boxer, let's say, right, you know, when he's about to climb into that ring, if you were a betting man and you were going to go put your money on one of them, which one would you put your money on? The guy who says, when you ask him, are you going to go knock that fella out? He says, if I land the right punch. Or the guy who says, when I land the right punch.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So
Well,
what we need to do is take that if, and we need to get it out of here.
Yeah, yeah. Yep.
Notice how I've used humor. I've also used analogy to make it a lot more understandable and emotional, to just really plant this certainty into him.
Follow you. I understand it.
So what word are we going to use instead going forward?
When I do it. Well, yeah, it's yeah, full steam ahead. That's it.
Look at the power of that. Look at the power of that. This is how to close at the highest level, people. This is what you're missing in your process.
So when we now get you to the point, let's say, Eddie, where we've overcome that little bit of doubt, let's say, which is always going to be there, by the way, completely normal. Doesn't matter what level you get to. We all still have those doubts, those worries, those fears. We just get better at facing up to them, is how I found it. When we get you to the point then where you're making that $10,000 a month, we've scaled the account, that version of Eddie, right, that's now achieved that, what would you say is actually different? I suppose, like, what kind of actions do you need to start taking, and what kind of habits do you need to start sticking by in order for us to get there going forward now?
That's a good question.
So rather than the traditional sense of now talking about how great life's going to be once he's making X amount more money and he's got the boat and he's now the grandfather he wants to be because his pockets are lined with cash, we're actually now more so focusing, once again, on the identity layer with him. And we're having him elaborate what new characteristics, attributes, and traits do you need to embody moving forward so that we can set you up with this success?
And really is, I mean, I don't really know what the answer is until, I mean, you know, it's just going to be a process of, you know, it's a mindset thing, I believe.
Yep.
I think once you get your mindset that, okay, I can do this, so, you know, I'm going to do it. You know?
Yeah. So would you say we're almost problem unaware at the time being, in a sense?
Unaware.
Because you said there, like, you don't quite know what the answer is. So would you say that we actually don't really have an awareness of what the specific problem is yet that needs solving?
I don't. I mean,
yeah,
you know,
which is fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
That's what the coaching's for.
Yeah.
So as you can see, the question in and of itself didn't actually land because he couldn't conceptualize to himself what new attributes and habits he needed to uphold. So I just flipped it. and said, well, I suppose in that case, we're almost problem unaware, which is still a problem in and of itself that the coaching's there to solve, because you have to actually be aware of your own problems in order to then have a solution for them.
The first thing we'd need to do is figure the problem. And I mean, Jesse's more qualified than I am, of course. So I'm sure he'd look at things and say, that's the problem.
Yeah.
We've got it.
Yeah. I think, I mean, I've got the basics down, but basics don't put money in your pocket. And nowadays, I mean, it's easy to make money, but it's hard to keep it.
Exactly that.
Yeah. And, because I've been through that tunnel before.
Yep.
And, and this time though, it's going to be different. And so that's where I'm at. I mean, I think what it is, like say with the training or whatever, you got to show what you know and then let someone else take you on up to that next level.
Exactly that. Would you say then you're at a point in life where you're definitely ready to draw that line in the sand for yourself?
Exactly.
So that,
Yeah.
So that we can get a bigger boat, raise the money for the grandkids, just I suppose get to that level of success that you said you miss a little bit in a sense.
Well, and you go through daily routines and you get into these ruts, and you think about, well, I could do this or I could do that. But I do it tomorrow, or next time. I'll do it next time. And this
and
is
what does I'll do it tomorrow get us?
So he's already effectively pre-handling a potential identity objection that could come up for himself at the end. So I'm emphasizing this. So what does I'll start Monday, what does I'll start tomorrow effectively get us?
nowhere. It's just like the old saying says, tomorrow never comes.
Exactly that. Exactly that.
So,
And it's
anyway.
that alone is probably the one mentality that'll take you further than anything else in life, I would argue.
Yeah.
So,
And,
I mean,
I'm tired of putting things off,
Yeah, I'd love to.
So I'm now going to pivot straight into the pitch. The reason as to why I decided to now do so is because I personally believe we have built up enough significance behind why he wants to do this, but also he has just prominently stated that tomorrow never comes. If you push a decision off, it'll get you nowhere. We want to contain that emotion and the words that he's just said. We want to run through the pitch so that we can effectively use that as a carabiner, as leverage, if he happens to then try to push the decision off at the end. So we want to maintain that emotion. We don't want to carry on for another 20, 30 minutes, then pitch, then get to objections, because what he said now will be distant in his mind.
100%. I'd love to walk you through then in some more detail, exactly how this will all work for yourself. And how about I'll kind of try and keep it all super clear and to the point. But if at any point you want to ask a question, you just shoot it over and cut me off, if that's cool with you.
Okay.
Awesome. Going to say, do you feel like this process could realistically take us from where we are now?
So I've just wrapped up the pitch. I've just cut it out in the recording. And now this is me just on the tail end of the pitch before we've dropped price, I believe.
To the point where we can be making that $10,000 a month and we can start to feel confident and be building that wealth back up.
Yeah. Like I say, I mean, you've got to have that, that push behind you. Sometimes we need the motivation, to make you want to do it. And I think, that to have somebody behind you or, to show you and guide you more or less. I think, I mean, to be successful in it, like I say, I mean, you can dibble dabble along with it all you want, and finally you may learn it eventually, but like I say, everybody that goes at it alone, I mean, only a very few ever make it and figure it out.
And they're losing their most valuable asset in life, time. Because money, at the end of the day, like money, we can make more of. Right? It's a transference of your effort and your skills. That's how you make money.
Yeah.
Whereas time, like with the family, loved ones, like once that's been spent, you can't get that back. There's no refunds.
Yeah.
This is an example of where I am using a statement, but I'm effectively planting a seed to pre-handle another potential objection, where I'm creating a disconnect between the value of time and money by effectively stating how money we can always make back. Time is a valuable resource. So no matter what, we do not want to hesitate. We do not want to put time between actually making a decision and getting closer toward our goals.
And that's the thing.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, the last thing to cover is, of course, the investment itself, right? Speaking of which,
Yeah.
now we've got a variety of ways we can cover it, but for the full mentorship, the investment is $12,000. However, for anybody willing to take action and pay it up front, we can actually knock 35% down off the price. So the total comes down to $7,800. So that includes full access, the live coaching, the accountability, the psychology coaching, the trade reviews, and then after the 6 months of one-to-ones, lifetime access to the community.
So this isn't an on-call incentive that people used to run in the closing space. The reason why I price dropped like this specifically on this offer was because if they were to finance, it would be 12,000. If they were to pay in full, it would be 7,800, as there was a fee attached if they were to go down the financing option. You never want to add a fee onto the original price, so you anchor the finance price and then you make the paid in full actually sound as if it was a discount.
Something to think about now, you know, I mean, yeah, it is a lot of money, but there again, you got to look at, you know, what's the return? You know, it's just like return on investment. I mean, anything that you do, you know, it don't matter. Like I say, you can drive that car, but still, you got to put gas in it.
Yeah.
You know, to get to where you want to go.
Exactly
So,
that.
you know, and you got to buy the car too. So, I mean, anything you got an investment. Now, the thing is, you know, whether you want to, okay, let's just ask this. Let's just say, I say, well, no, I don't want to do 35%. What's the option then? I mean, if you don't want to pull all the money out at one time, or is there?
Yeah, of course there is. So if you don't want to put all the money out in one time, it would be the normal total price of 12,000. However, you could break that down. So you could break it down over 6, 12, heck, you can even do 18 months if you like.
Yeah.
One thing we would just have to look at though is, do you happen to know what your credit score is?
Mine, it's around 750, something
Oh
like
yeah.
that.
No, you'll be
Yeah.
absolutely fine. Hold on, let me see if I can grab it and then we'll see. Hold on. Let me grab this for you and then we'll be able to see what your options are, because essentially you can get better options than some people, right? I had somebody who got phenomenal options, but then we had somebody yesterday whose credit score wasn't quite as high as yours and then his options weren't quite as good.
Well, listen, don't worry about all that, because if I do it, I mean, I can pay it all at one time. I mean, you know, that's not, you know, so, I mean, I was just curious as to what option.
So he's now highlighted to me that there is no logistical objection. It is entirely just fear. That's all that is holding him back currently. And the reason why he asked about the alternate option was just a smokescreen to put more time between actually giving an affirmative decision, because that would make it more comfortable. So now this is what we have to fixate on and unpack to help him step out of his own way.
Are available.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah.
You know, but no, I'm, you know, right now, if that's something that I, you know, really decide to pursue, I mean, you know, no, I mean, I could do that. I mean,
what's taking you back to if?
Boom. Due to the carabiners, due to the points that we've made earlier in the conversation, we can now use the language he's using in the present and correlate it back. So what's brought us back to if?
well, that's just something. This is something. I mean, you know, whenever you talk about an investment, it's just something that you want to look at. I want to look at all my options, you know, and
what options in what sense?
Notice how I'm now just gonna unpack objection after objection through open-ended questions to uncover what the real objection is, because these are just nonsensical smokescreens.
You know, do I want to spend, you know, $8,000, you know, to do this? I mean, you know, it's just something I want to think about. I've never been one to just say, okay, let's do it right now, you know, without thinking about it. I mean, because I mean, you know, not saying, you know, it's a good thing, it's a bad thing. I don't do that, but I mean, I just like to look at, you know, sit back after we're finished talking. And
let me ask, Is this something that you want to do?
So he's now also given me an identity and a binary way of thinking. Effectively, whenever it comes to a decision like this, I always think a certain way. That's confining himself into a box. So we have to help unlock his ideology and get him out of that box. So what I now need to do is reaffirm the value above all else firsthand so that he agrees that he genuinely believes this can get him the results he's looking for more than anything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
What makes you want to do it?
To make more money.
Okay. And is there anything else more important to you than that though? Because money at the end of the day is like just numbers, right? Like
Yeah.
what's like what's the actual reason?
See how I'm not going to settle for this surface level answer that doesn't move the needle forward or get us anywhere. I'm going to challenge him very directly because I've built up that level of trust and rapport earlier on in the conversation to be able to do so.
I think a lot of it's personal satisfaction.
Okay.
Knowing that you start to do something and you achieved it.
Yeah.
I think in the long run, not leaving family, to the side. And I think a lot of it's personal, and I don't want to say it's not ego or nothing like that. It's just personal satisfaction knowing that you did something and you were able to do it. And
do you feel as though with our guidance and obviously with your work ethic that once you succeed, this will bring you that satisfaction in life?
Yeah.
Boom. Now I've had him firmly confirm the value, not just that it's going to make him a bunch of money, that if he were to do this and once he's done this, it will bring him the satisfaction as a man that he's been looking for in his own life. Fantastic.
Because aside from needing to just think about it, I suppose, is there anything else holding you back or that you are uncertain on?
Now I'm isolating the objection. I'm making sure that there's nothing else that could potentially be standing in the way of him coming to a decision.
Yeah.
Because can I give you some feedback, Eddie?
Sure.
Now I'm gaining permission. Can I give you some feedback? I would recommend using this over, do you mind if I share a perspective in certain situations? Because it comes across as more authoritative. When somebody says, do you mind if I share a perspective? That's insinuating that this is your perspective and they have their perspective. When somebody gives feedback, it's insinuating that you are actually correct, whereas they are incorrect, or that you have knowledge that they have yet to attain. So you're coming from a position of superiority with that knowledge.
Makes complete sense. And I can see where you're coming from when you mentioned up to now, that's just the way I've made decisions, right? I've never just gone for something.
I'm acknowledging the way in which he thinks and the identity that he holds. I'm not insulting it in a sense. I'm acknowledging it, but I'm now providing him insight as to how that doesn't actually best serve him.
But after kind of what you've mentioned to me earlier, would it be fair to say that the way in which you have made decisions and the way in which you have thought is actually what's led us right here today, where we are now?
I have phrased this as a question, not a statement. I'm now going to have him elaborate to himself whether that's the case or not.
Probably.
Is it probably or is it like definitely, really?
Challenging him on his uncertain language. Probably. Is it probably or is it definitely? We want to be very certain on this.
Yeah.
Because
yes.
Would it be completely insane for me to say that if we do want to make a change and we do want to step into the shoes of becoming, this new version of Eddie, that we might actually need to start making decisions differently than we have done up to now?
Very purposeful language. Would it be completely insane? You're over dramatizing the situation so that they can't effectively challenge you on that concept in and of itself. But I'm now implying that if the way in which he's made decisions up to this point and the box that he's put himself in is what's exactly led us here today on this call, then surely we have to break out of that box, start thinking, acting, and operating differently in order to get a different outcome.
Maybe.
Well, what do you think?
He said maybe again, so I'm just going to straight up challenge. Well, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I like the concept. I like, the strategy, in the process.
Oh, it's not. So it's not. It's the.
So now he's getting himself into a logistical frame of mind. He's trying to pivot the conversation because that is not what we're talking about whatsoever here. So I'm not going to allow that to happen because I'm holding full frame on this conversation as I need to help this guy.
the process is irrelevant now, really. Like because the process works. You know, like that goes without saying, just due to our testimonials and how long Jesse's been in the space now. What we're actually talking about now more so is your process, I suppose,
Yeah.
and your way of making decisions. Because you did mention there, tomorrow never comes.
See how I've now just made a very firm statement with full authority about how it's nothing to do with the process. We get results as if that is a fundamental fact. What we are now here talking about is your process, your ideology. And now I'm looping back to the prior language he has used with himself.
Well, that's true.
So in what way does pushing a decision like this off actually serve you and empower you?
I mean, no, I mean, I'm not saying I'm going to put it up. I mean, it's just something that I'm going.
Well, that's what you are saying. Come on.
See how I am not taking any of this BS, which is what you need to do with your prospects. I am just using the identity that they actually want to live up to, and I'm holding the mirror up. That's all I'm doing. Because now he's saying, well, I'm not pushing things off. Well, you are. That's exactly what you're doing.
I guess. I mean, I guess I am.
And see, he's laughing and smiling with me because I'm calling him out on BS, and people respect and appreciate that.
But
because when you said you were open to being held accountable, did you like the idea of accountability, or do you actually want us to hold you accountable going forward?
Now this is me making a very broad statement here, or I suppose a broad question of when you said you like the idea of accountability, which I would have planted in the pitch, did you like the idea, or do you actually want to be held accountable? What that's insinuating is that I am just holding him accountable now to a higher standard. I'm not me versus you. I'm not trying to get you to close. I'm not trying to close this deal, close this sale. I'm holding you accountable to the higher standard that you're looking to be.
Forward.
Yeah.
Because let's just fucking do it. Like, after what you said, and you mentioned there, you're sick and tired of just putting things off. That's what you said before. Can you see how we're almost falling into that old Eddie again?
Yeah.
See how I'm able to operate here because of what I planted earlier in the call and because of the state that I have embodied from the very beginning and the standard that I've held him to from the start. That's why I'm able to say such off-the-cuff direct remarks, such as, let's just fucking do it, whilst laughing, and he's laughing and smiling to himself. He doesn't feel pressured. He doesn't feel like he's being taken advantage of or manipulated because he can tell that's not what I'm here to do. That's not the identity that I'm embodying.
Okay. Let's just, if we want to do it, what's the next step?
Next step would be I could send you over the payment link. We could take care of that how you like. Then I'll help you get onboarded so you can get your onboarding call booked in straight away. That'll be in the next 24 to 48 hours. I'll get you in the advanced Discord, so you'll get straight in the community with everyone, and then I'll give you access to the system.
Okay. Just curiosity, how many people's in the community? How many you got?
Let me check now for you. See the current number. What makes you ask?
So always ask what makes you ask. Because once again, the only reason why he has asked this question is to push the decision off further. It's just his mind trying to place obstacles in the way of him coming to an affirmative decision. But we need to get him to solution-based thinking. We have to get him away from obstacle-based thinking because the number of people inside of the community is a completely irrelevant question for him to ask because the amount of people inside of a community doesn't necessarily dictate whether he's going to get the results he believes he can. Plain and simple. So I always want to unpack the reasoning behind the question rather than just directly answering it.
Curiosity.
We've got about 456.
So I keep my answer super short and concise because the answer doesn't matter. Hasn't changed anything.
That's something else I was going to ask you and trying to think of what it was.
Look at his mind. Obstacles. What obstacle can I come up with?
I hadn't really dug deep in all, like on how long has he been doing the trading? I mean,
oh wow, have you not? So Jesse's been in the game now for years. But if you weren't aware of his story about nearly going to prison or anything like that, you're not seeing that.
No,
Wow.
no.
So that's why, like I said to you, we're going to hold your feet to the fire, right? And I mean, I can tell you my personal story as well if you're interested, because it does mean a lot to me, and that's why I'm busting your balls a little bit here. I'll tell you why. So Jesse actually, in his past life, he's reformed now. He's a man of faith essentially compared to the way he used to be. He had a very troubled upbringing when he was younger, and he actually got involved in drugs when he was younger, and he was selling marijuana essentially, and he got sentenced, and he was actually facing up to 30 years in prison. Now, what had happened was he'd gotten into trading, and then he got really good. He became like the number one in any of the communities he was in. And then just as he was about to start Smart Trading Blueprint, that's when they slapped him with the prison sentence. He had officers banging on his door. They pulled him off when he was trading live one day, arrested him, and then he had to fight a court battle over the course of the following year. And what he decided to do was he looked at his watch. He said, I might be facing up to 30 years in prison in 1 year's time. So I've got 1 year to make all the money I can for his partner and his child. So he just dived into trading every single day, head first, and he became, a master at it because he was trading like his life depended on it, quite literally, right? And then after that year, he'd actually managed to build wealth from the trading. He used that money to pay for some really top-end lawyers. They fought the case for him, and then they actually managed to get him off the sentence, cleared the case. And then from there, he decided that was the moment that he vowed his whole life would turn around, and he was going to help as many people as he could, and then that's how this was born.
Well, good for him.
So the reason as to why I actually painted such a vivid picture and story here for him is because I know the questions he's asking are just his mind coming up with obstacles to stand in the way of him coming to the final decision. However, the story here is actually very powerful and impactful because the offer owner, Jesse, that was selling the mentorship in and of itself, had been through some very clear hardship. He had a very powerful story that demonstrated he pushed through fear, he persevered, and I can now tie that same identity and ideology onto him and his decision-making process, because if he's looking to work with somebody else who has held themselves to such a high standard and level of accountability, then surely he must expect us to do the same for him.
Yeah. Beautiful story.
Okay. All right. No, I never had heard that before. I was,
Yeah.
I mean, it's always good to know who you're dealing with.
100%.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I think it's.
Should we rock and roll?
Yeah, I think so.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Because is it?
So he said, I think so. So are you sure? That's not an affirmative buy-in. I always want an affirmative buy-in from all of my prospects.
Think so? Is it you think so or do you know so? We got to know so here.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Give me a minute then. Would you like to knock the 35% off then and just do the 78?
Yeah.
Okay, give me a minute then. Let me get this ready for you, and then we'll get you in the system. So, do you see the Zoom chat just here? I'll pop it in here, so you'll probably just see it pop up on the screen there.
Yeah.
Just tap that for us.
On the meeting group. What?
Hold on. Oh wait, hold on. Let me. Don't use that one. Sorry, that was a PayPal link. We don't want to use PayPal. I'll give you this one.
As far as I recall, we're not out of the woods yet, but I'll see. I believe another further objection may come up here.
Instead, that one there on the bottom. That's the normal one.
Okay. What?
Just to confirm, it should say on the left, Smart Trading Blueprint 7800, right?
Okay, I don't see anything.
So if you go on, let me see where it is. So are you on Zoom now? Can you see us still?
Yeah. Yes.
So do you see at the bottom of the screen, it says participants, and then it says chat.
Yes.
Click the chat button, and then you'll see that link at the bottom there that I put in. If you click that link.
Oh, okay. On the message.
Yeah, that's the one. And then I just want to make sure we put the right price in for you. So it's definitely the 7800, not 12,000.
Okay, so the last link there on the.
Yeah, that's the one.
Let's see what we got.
Should say 7800 on the left, and then on the right it gives you email, and then you've got the option just to pop your card in.
Okay, I'm back on that. Yeah, that's what that is. That's the 78.
Awesome. And then that'll be, so it's either debit or credit works. So you just pop your email in, and then obviously you pop your information in on your side.
Okay.
Notice how calm and composed I've remained throughout the entire conversation. My state has not shifted once because I am congruent. I am embodying the identity that I've set out from the very beginning to the very end. There is no shift in my demeanor right the way through.
And whilst you do that, I will get your onboarding sorted. Just give me 1 second. Let's put it. Hold on. Let me do a lean out here. Let's put a pause. Let's just put a pause. I just want to check, Eddie. Just check now. Is this definitely something that you want to do?
So I have now done something that a lot of closers miss out on. I've called a lean out. I've called a pause because I didn't firmly feel as though the energy on the call was one of conviction and one that he was bought in. So you don't want somebody to payment dip on you where they pretend to walk through the steps and they suddenly hang up because they can't take the pressure that's around them. So this is how you get around that. You put a pause on the situation and you allow them to have an out or allow them to raise another objection that you can then handle.
Yep.
Okay. I just always want to make sure because the moment you get in now, like this is a moment now where going forward, like we're ready to work hard, right? We're ready to make more money. We're ready to show up.
Yep.
Awesome. I always want to make sure because that's the energy that we're going to need. It's just positive energy going forward now.
See how I'm getting multiple buy-ins, multiple conviction, and I'm making sure that the energy is positive toward moving forward with a decision like this because you don't want anybody to move forward if they're going to have buyer's remorse.
Let me, how you doing? What you got to do? Let me go in here. I got to take a break right quick.
Yeah,
And
no
I'll
problem.
be right back.
Yep, no worries.
There's one.
So what now happens after I put a pause is he said he needs to take a break real quick. He walks off camera. He walks back on. He sits back down after around 3 minutes or so. And then this happens.
Thing that, I tell you what, there's one thing I'm going to check on. And
Okay.
first, and I got to transfer money anyway if I do this.
Mhm.
So I can't do it, bam, right now. That's one thing.
Okay.
Got to move some money. But, I guess more or less what I'm trying to say is either I need to wait this afternoon or tomorrow to do this.
Mm.
And let me get my money right for one.
Mm.
That's one thing I got to do.
Okay.
So
I mean, the money's the easy part. So what's the other part playing on your mind? Because that's the more important part.
See how I'm completely disconnecting the fact from the money. Notice my reaction. It's non-existent because I'm still embodying that congruent, calm composure. And now I'm enabling him to acknowledge what the real issue is, which is clearly fear. That's all that's coming up for him that's bringing up this hesitation. So let's push the money aside. That isn't the concern whatsoever. Let's focus on what really matters.
well, nothing. I mean, like I say, is
Because I was just
money
go on.
is, huh?
It's which, sorry?
And I mean, listen, there's just a couple things I want to check out.
What are they?
Well, I guess the legitimacy of everything. I mean, I'm not saying anybody's scam artist or nothing. I don't think
This
that
is-
no, but
This is just
I always,
yeah. It's just fair. It's just fair talking, Eddie.
See how now, because we've been through so many objection loops, I always recommend doing like a 3-loop rule effectively. You can't keep beating a dead horse. If somebody continues to dig their heels in, push back on you, eventually you have to subside or you burn the lead entirely. Now, there are times at which I am fully aware wholeheartedly that the only thing holding them back from coming to a buying decision is fear. So I'll just call it out directly because what else is there to do at this point? This is just fear talking, Eddie.
It's just fair.
So I mean, I'm just saying. I mean,
Because like at the end of the day, because let's just start straight shooting with each other. I'm a straight shooter. Would you even be on this call if you thought Jesse and me and anyone on the team was a scam artist? Really? Would you even be on this call? And would you have taken the last hour chatting to me?
probably not.
Well, is it probably not, or is it definitely not? Because
See how I'm still calling him out on that uncertain language? Probably not or definitely not. And I'm just shooting straight with him now because he needs somebody to be direct.
I just don't take you for that kind of guy.
Well, I don't. I mean,
And I'm tying that into his identity by saying, I don't take you for that kind of guy. That's very purposeful language I'm using.
I don't know. It's just
Because do you know what this is? I've seen it. I've seen it.
all my life, and
Yeah.
I know what you're saying as far as now's the time to change it. And
Yeah.
and do this, that, and the other. But it's just certain things I've always done.
It's not about what I say either. I just want to make that really clear. Not about what I say. It's whether you want to make the change. Because, like, fundamentally, if you carry on making decisions the way you have done up to now, then are you ever going to be able to take that step up to become the new version of yourself who's more successful than you've ever been?
Yeah, I understand.
See how I'm now completely disowning the ideology myself. I'm saying it's nothing about what I'm saying to you. It's nothing about what I say. It's about the decision that you want to make. And now I'm asking the open ended question to allow him to acknowledge that if he continues making decisions as he has done, he'll never be able to get to his goals.
That's
And
it.
that's true.
And like,
That's true.
and fundamentally, if we really zoom out now, it's fear talking. That's what it is. Because that fear is always going to be there. We all have to face that fear at one point, and it's never going to be comfortable. Never ever comfortable. But like in life, Eddie, do we grow if we stay comfortable, or do we grow when we get uncomfortable?
Yeah.
Well, which is it? Which is it?
Notice how he didn't answer my question. People do this on purpose. It's not subconscious, it's relatively conscious at times, because if they were to answer the question, it would perhaps make them feel uncomfortable. So they try and disregard it. I do not let that slide. I always re ask my questions.
Well, I think when you're uncomfortable and you make a decision to do something.
And can you see how deep down you're making the decision that's most comfortable at the moment, which is to push it back again?
Yeah.
So like,
boom, cognitive dissonance effectively. I've now had him admit that he has to make an uncomfortable decision in order to grow into the person he wants to be. And I've now had him acknowledge that he's choosing to make the opposite of that. He's choosing to make the comfortable decision. He's effectively contradicting his own belief system.
are you really going to grow if you do that?
Well, yeah, I'm going to do that. I mean, I am. I mean, I'm going to do it.
It's like that's like saying I'm going to quit smoking tomorrow. It's like you've not quit then, have you?
Well, that's one thing I did do.
Well, if you did that, then there you go. But like I said to you, I was going to tell you. I said to you, I'd tell you my story and why I'm busting your balls. So I'll tell you my story now, then, just so you can get a bit of insight as to why I am.
This is what a lot of you guys are not going to be able to do because you haven't lived my life. You haven't lived my personal story. However, there is a very powerful reason as to why I now do this at the end of the conversation. I have effectively exhausted all forms of psychological reframing with this individual. He has now acknowledged that he is contradicting his own belief system, which is in essence illogical. So now all it is going to come down to is instilling conviction into him. I have to be the pillar of confidence that he buys into, the pillar of congruency that he acknowledges he would also want to be, which will then drive him toward a decision. How do I do that? By telling him my genuine truth, my genuine story. Now, this story is completely true that I'm about to tell. I have just reiterated it and focused it toward the offer that I'm currently selling on. However, the truth behind it is that it applied to closing, bettering myself in remote sales, getting into this industry. You can't tell my story, and I wouldn't advise stealing it and pretending you're me. However, think back to your own life. Think back to the hardships that you've been through. Think back to the trials and tribulations that you faced to get to where you are today. And how can you conjure that into a story that will enable somebody to understand it and empower them to make a decision for themselves?
I invested into myself back in October 2024. So bit over a year and a half ago now. I invested, I think it was around $10,000 at the time when I put that forward. That was a lot of money for me back then. That was a lot of money. Like I'd never in my life put that much money into something before, ever. 1 week later, 1 week afterward, I wake up in the middle of the night to the sound of my mum screaming. And I jump up out of bed. You can't even imagine the fright. Adrenaline just pumping through my body. I was slipping on the floor like a cartoon character, trying to run out the room. For some reason, I thought she was being murdered. That's just what went through my mind. I come bursting out the bedroom. My mum comes running past me, screaming, "The house is on fire." And I look into my hallway, and I kid you not, there is flames climbing the walls. There's flames on the ceiling. The whole place was just up ablaze. My mum had to run through the fire to wake me up. I just hadn't woken up for some reason. So she was really badly burned at the time. But all I remember her saying was, "The dog's still inside the house." And I was thinking, I've got to try and save my dog here. I've got to try. Like that. What kind of a man would I be if I don't try? But the fear, I cannot explain to you the fear I face. Like every part of your body saying, dude, you cannot go through that flame. You can't. And by like the grace of God, 5 minutes later, the fire brigade showed up. Like they must have just been local in the area, like a miracle of some kind. And they come bursting into the house. They put the flames out and they managed to have a dog oxygen mask. And they actually resuscitated my dog and brought her back to life. And there was a moment right there and then where I was sat after my mum had gone to the hospital and I was by myself and the fire brigade had left, just looking at my home, thinking, okay, well, like this could be what breaks me, right? And I think anybody, even yourself maybe, would think it'd be okay if I asked for a refund. If I said, hey, I need that $10,000 back because I've just lost my house, essentially, right? But I remember being sat there with myself and thinking, if I do this now, I'm never going to do it again. I'm never going to do it again. So it's either I let this be what stops me or I let this be what drives me, because tomorrow really is never promised. I could have not woken up that day. My mum could have not woken up that day. So by the grace of God, we're still here today. And what I did was I put everything into this. I worked so hard, so tirelessly, and over the course of the last year, like my life has completely changed. Like, I mean, I'm in my nice apartment now. I paid for my mum to go on holiday twice last year. All that was driving me was that I was going to make us right. I said to my mum, I'm going to make us right. I'm going to get us back to where we need to be. And it happened because I didn't let something stop me. I didn't let it push things back. I was sick and tired of pushing things off, as you said earlier. So that's why I'm saying, Eddie, the only thing holding you back at this point is going to be that fear. And it's whether you want to step into the shoes now going forward of someone who doesn't let it stand over them.
Yeah. Okay.
Because if you need to move the money around, like on a genuine level, that's completely fine. But more so for yourself than anybody else here.
Yeah.
We could do a deposit now in the meantime. So you could put down a $500 deposit now just to plant that flag in the sand for yourself. And then when you've moved the money around, you could do the other 7,300 once it's in the right account.
Okay. Let me click this right. Let's see. You want me to go do it now?
But it's not what I want. It's what yeah.
I'm just,
See how I'm still leaning out on him, even now, because it is nothing to do with what I want. It is all about the decision he makes for his own life.
I mean, is that what you're, is that what
Yeah.
we're waiting on? And let's see.
Boom. And that was that. He then went on to pay the deposit on the call, and then the next day he paid the remainder. Now, that right here is an example of the power of state-based selling. The power of really focusing on being congruent in your own life so that you can embody the identity that you look to set on your calls. This wasn't some fancy script that got me here. Yes, inside of my community, we do have a highly advanced framework in how to operate on these conversations and calls and how to maneuver conversations to get to the desired outcome and allow the individual to uncover their limitations so that you can fracture them and overcome them. However, what's more important beyond all of that is the foundation that we build everything else upon. And every single member of my community will tell you the same thing. We focus firsthand on your identity. We focus on your congruency. We make sure you are living up to the standards and the habits that you look to set yourself. We combine that with advanced understanding of sales psychology and an advanced sales framework. And that is what will enable you to make $30,000 a month as a high ticket closer. That is what's essential to breaking through your sales plateaus and getting to the level that you'd like to be. Now, if this does sound of interest to yourself and you do want to join a like-minded community of brothers that are on the same path, closing at this level, head to the link in the description. You can book a 15 to 20 minute call in with myself. We'll dive into your goals. We'll have an initial chat and then we can take it from there. If you do just want to reach out and ask me any questions, head to my Instagram and you can shoot me a private DM and I'll get straight back to you. As always, thanks for taking the time to watch this video. I hope it could be of help and service to yourself and continue pushing forward to be the best closer and the best man that you can be.